Good day everyone. I'm David, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is ICD-10 Coding Updates effective October 1, 2023. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Sharon Lidwin. Sharon Lidwin, RN, PSHS, MHA, HCSD, COQS, has had an extensive career in home health, starting as a field nurse in 1985. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Sharon.
Thanks, David. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And I titled it for hospice and home health. These coding updates are ICD-10, so any healthcare facility that uses ICD-10 codes, that's who this applies to. All right. So every year, the codes start on October 1st. That's when they're effective, but it actually is for the fiscal year that's upcoming. So this is fiscal year 2024 ICD-10 CM code set. And we have 395 new codes, which is many, but those of you who know since the beginning of ICD-10, which, good grief, that must be 10 years ago now. It was so incredibly traumatic when we went from ICD-9 to 10, if any of you remember. But ever since we went on ICD-10, the number of codes that have been added every year and revised and deleted have been in the thousands. And it has mostly all been to get more and more and more specific. And that's what you'll see a lot today, is that the 395 new ones are actually more specific codes. And so then, of course, some deletions and revisions and tabular changes and guideline changes, note changes come with all of that. But, you know, there aren't changes in every section. Chapter 12, diseases of skin and sub-Q tissue, the L chapter that we use so much, pressure ulcers, stasis ulcers, and on and on. There are no changes in that this year, so that's very nice. There are multiple changes in pregnancy and postpartum care and congenital, and I will just go through those really rapidly because we don't see those a lot in home care and hospice. Obviously, we see congenital areas, but we'll focus on the other ones, although I do have all of those here as well. So these are effective October 1st. For those of you in home health, 30-day billing periods, you have to remember that the claims, the 30-day claims that start September 2nd are going to need the new codes. So as you start billing those for September, you're going to get rejections if you don't have those in because you're not billing the claims till October. Sepsis due to a post-procedural infection. Screening for COVID-19 will use the Z1152 instead of the Z2822. The guideline changes for coma, admission for chemo, immunotherapy, radiation therapy. The only thing that's changed here is the word solely was changed to chiefly. All right, now that was it for the guidelines. So now we'll get into chapter 1, which is A00 to B99, and that's certain infectious and parasitic diseases. This one's a mouthful, so it's A41.54. Sepsis due to Acinetobacter baumannii. All right. And then they added Acinetobacter baumannii to other chapters too. And so the J chapter, which is respiratory, the new code is J15.61, and Acinetobacter baumannii is also added with a lot of codes in our Z chapter. Chapter 2 is neoplasms, C00 to D49. D13.99 is benign neoplasm of ill-defined sites within the digestive system. D48.1, neoplasm of uncertain behavior of connective and other soft tissue has been expanded. Chapter 3, diseases of the blood and blood-forming organs and certain disorders involving immune mechanism. The immune mechanism, D50 to D89. So with our sickle cell disorders, they've added dactylitis codes. under D57. D61.09, other constitutional aplastic anemia. Chapter 4, endocrine, nutritional, and metabolic diseases, E00 to E89. So E20.8, other hypoparathyroidism. E74.0, glycogen storage disease. E88, other and unspecified metabolic disorders. E88.A, wasting disease syndrome due to underlying condition. Chapter 5 is the F01 to F99, mental, behavioral, and neurodevelopmental disorders. 1, opioid-related disorders. Chapter 6, this is the nervous system, the G chapter, G00 to G99. G11.5, hypomyelination, hypogonadotropic hypogonadism. G20, Parkinson's disease. So G20.A is Parkinson's without dyskinesia. G20.C, Parkinsonism unspecified. G23, other degenerative diseases of basal ganglia, has been expanded to G23.3. G31, G40.3, generalized idiopathic epilepsy and epileptic syndrome. Chronic migraine, new G codes to add migraine with aura. Chapter 7 and 8, laterality to all, H3520 to 23. Chapter 9, diseases of the circulatory system, I00, I99, I1A. They have a guideline for new resistant hypertension. I20.8, other forms of angina pectoris. And now we have the other I25B codes, MI with CMD. I47.1, supraventricular tach, has 3 new codes. Okay, venous insufficiency, I87.2. Chapter 10, diseases of the respiratory system, J00 to J99. J4A, chronic lung allograft dysfunction. J68.4, chronic respiratory conditions due to chemicals, gases, fumes, and vapors. Chapter 11, digestive system, K00 to K95. K35.20, acute appendicitis with generalized peritonitis without abscess. K6389 to K6389, other specified diseases of the intestine. K68, disorders of retroperitoneum. K90.82, short bowel syndrome, short gut syndrome. Yay, no changes in Chapter 12, the skin and sub-Q, L chapters. Chapter 13, M00 to M99, that's diseases of the MS and connective tissue. M97, periprosthetic fractures. Chapter 14, diseases of the GU system, N00 to N99. NO4.2, nephrotic syndrome with diffuse membranous glomerulonephritis. And NO6.2 got very expanded. Isolated proteinuria with diffuse membranous glomerulonephritis unspecified. Chapter 15, pregnancy, childbirth, and peripartum. O00, O9A, O90.4. Postpartum acute kidney failure was expanded. O2664, intrahepatic cholestasis of pregnancy. Chapter 16, the P00 to P96, and this is for the perinatal period, did not have any changes. 17 is the congenital malformations and deformations, chromosomal abnormalities, Q00 to Q99. Q44.7, other congenital malformations of the liver. And then they expanded Q75.0, craniosynostosis. Chapter 18 is our R chapter, signs and symptoms, abnormal labs, not elsewhere classified. R09.8, other specified symptoms and signs involving the circulatory and respiratory systems. R19, this is injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes. This is S00 through T88. In T56.821, for more specific coding, and it's for toxic effect of gadolinium. T81.83, persistent post-procedural fistula. Now we're to chapter 20, V00 to Y99. Y07, perpetrator of assault, maltreatment, and neglect. Our last chapter, but Z00 to Z99. Z29.8, encounter for other specified prophylactic measures. Z62.29, other upbringing away from parents. Z83.71, family history of colonic polyps was expanded. Z91.84, caregivers' other noncompliance with patient's medication regimen was expanded. Now, this is some of the SDOH codes, and we're in chapter 21. Z58.8, other problems related to physical environment. Now this is 6281, personal history of abuse in childhood. This is the end, and then I just want to thank you all for being with me today. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sharon. That does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead.
You too. Bye.